Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Nipunika Shahid, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Indian Home Minister Amit Shah says government has taken several steps to ensure internal security of the country. Air bubble service between India and Bangladesh to resume after a gap of more than 4 months due to COVID-19 pandemic. National Resistance Force leader in Afghanistan, Ahmad Massoud, says his fighters won't give up their struggle against Taliban. In Tokyo Paralympics, Indian shuttler Pramod Bhagat wins gold while Manoj Sarkar wins bronze in men's singles SL3 category. Manish Narwal wins gold and Singraj Adana takes silver in mixed 50-meter pistol event. And in US Open tennis, defending champion Naomi Osaka and third-seeded Stefanos Tsitsipas ousted in third round. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is underway, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Indian Home Minister Amit Shah has said that government has taken several steps to ensure internal security of the country. He said government has changed several laws as per the requirement of the time. Addressing the 51st Foundation Day celebrations of Bureau of Police Research and Development BPRD in New Delhi, Mr. Shah said BPRD should reform its working style as per the emerging challenges. He said cyber attack, drone attack, narcotic smuggling, fake currency and Hawala racket are among the biggest challenges in front of the country. Mr. Shah said BPRD should research the best practices going on around the world to deal with the emerging challenges and prepare the police forces of the country according to it.
बदलती चुनौतियों को नापकर इसकी तैयारी करना और विश्व भर में इस चुनौतियों को निपटने के लिए जो बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस है इसका अध्ययन कर हमारे देश भर के पुलिस बल को तैयार करना। आप बहुत अच्छे से कर रहे हैं, परंतु मैं कहना चाहता हूं इसको और पैना करने की जरूरत है, इसमें द्रुत गति लाने की जरूरत है.
The Home Minister said Bureau of Police Research and Development should work towards modernizations of Central Armed Police Forces in view of the challenges in country's border areas. The air bubble service between India and Bangladesh is resuming after a gap of more than 4 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. More from our Dhaka correspondent.
The air travel between India and Bangladesh is set to resume from tomorrow as both the countries have agreed to start flights under the air bubble agreement. The air services are resuming after a gap of more than 4 months after they were suspended due to the surge in COVID-19 cases. The Civil Aviation Authority of Bangladesh announced this in Dhaka on Saturday. The air bubble agreement will be in force till the resumption of the scheduled international flights between the 2 countries. The first flight of Bangladesh's national carrier, Biman Bangladesh, will leave for Kolkata from Dhaka under the air bubble arrangement tomorrow. The private flight operator from Bangladesh, US Bangla, has also announced the schedule for flights to India from 5th September. Biman Bangladesh will operate 2 flights per week on Dhaka-Kolkata route and 2 flights on Dhaka-New Delhi route. US Bangla will operate 3 weekly flights on Dhaka-Chennai route. Air India, SpiceJet and Indigo will also operate flights from New Delhi, Kolkata and Chennai to Dhaka. According to the terms of the air bubble arrangement, passengers from India to Bangladesh will have to complete a 14-day home quarantine irrespective of their vaccination status. They are also required to be COVID negative to fly. Bangladeshi travelers on tourist visas are not allowed to travel to India under this arrangement. Rajesh Jha for AIR News, Dhaka.
India has crossed yet another milestone in the COVID vaccination drive, with the total vaccination crossing the 68 crore mark. Union Health Ministry has termed it as yet another achievement in its fight against COVID-19. The ministry said 36,385 COVID patients have recovered during the last 24 hours. With this, the national recovery rate has reached 97.43%. Over 3 crore 21 lakh people have recovered from COVID so far. The National Resistance Force leader in Afghanistan, Ahmad Massoud, has said that his fighters won't give up their struggle against Taliban. He was reacting to the claims by Pakistani media about the fall of Panjshir Valley. In a Facebook post, he wrote that his fighters will never give up the fight for God, freedom and justice. The commander of the National Resistance Front said that the struggle for Panjshir has stood firm so far, and their Harati sisters have also bravely raised the cry for justice. He added that this shows that the people have not given up their demands for rights. Meanwhile, there is no word yet on the formation of a new government in Afghanistan. News agency reports from Kabul quoting Taliban spokesman had earlier suggested a new cabinet was likely to be in place on Saturday, with Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar heading the new regime. In another development, Tolu news agency reports that at least 17 people were killed and 41 were injured during a celebratory firing by the Taliban in Kabul yesterday. The firing occurred after the Taliban said that they had taken control of the Panjshir. However, the National Resistance Forces led by Ahmad Massoud have said they are still in control of the Panjshir Valley. Both the sides have claimed heavy casualties in the conflict. Panjshir Valley has been the stronghold of Ahmad Massoud and his fighters, who held out for a decade against the Soviet Union occupation in the past and then against the Taliban rule during 1996 to 2001.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on new government formation in Afghanistan. In conversation are Vishnu Prakash, former diplomat, and Shubhajit Roy, senior journalist.
So today the Taliban was supposed to announce their government, but we have seen visit by the ISI chief from Pakistan to Kabul. What is your sense? Why is this visit happening, and what does that mean for the current dispensation in Kabul?
Well, it is quite evident and that Taliban is a creation of Pakistan. Pakistan has nurtured them, protected them, armed them, trained them. And then there are certain groups like the Haqqani group, which is completely beholden to Pakistan. And the kind of investment that Pakistan has made in them for 20 years, they have spent treasure, they have put their reputation at stake. And here is Taliban, and the investment has been made because of their hatred for India, the enmity towards India. And now the ISI chief going there is that in some ways very natural to go and inspect the ground reality, like a regent or a viceroy goes on a tour. This is what is happening. They would want the Taliban to do its bidding, but Taliban is not monolithic. How much would different factions go by the Pakistani queue remains to be seen. But one thing is very clear, that there is tug of war going on, and different factions are jostling for power, prestige, and the spoils of office. So that is very clear. And then who comes in, whether it will be an inclusive government or whether it will be just a kind of patchwork, whether they will only go through the motions, it is not clear. One thing is clear, that there will be no lady there, and most of the important positions will be with Taliban, especially it looks like the Kandahar Taliban and the Doha Taliban.
Really laying out the context of the current developments in Afghanistan, let us unpack some of these elements. So you mentioned about the Kandahar Taliban and the Doha Taliban. If you could just explain to us who are the sort of key characters, key figures, and what is the difference between these two major groups within Taliban?
Mullah Akhundzada, who is supposed to be the spiritual leader, is from Kandahar, and he is the third spiritual leader in the hierarchy after Mullah Omar being the first. The challenge today is that what kind of authority does a spiritual leader actually have? Does he pull the strings of the Taliban or different factions? Does his writ run across the factions of Taliban? And does Rawalpindi pull the strings? Because till recently it was believed that he was in custody of Pakistan. Nobody has seen him. They say he has been in Kandahar. There is no proof. And it is, according to media reports and the experts' opinion, he will be like Ayatollah Khamenei, spiritual leader who will be above everything. And Mullah Baradar is likely to be the president. Mullah Baradar is also from Kandahar. He has been the deputy of Mullah Omar. And he also has been in Doha for a long time because the group that is in Doha, including Stanizai, Mullah Omar, and within Taliban, now questions are being asked whether those who are the face of the Taliban should have important positions, or those who have actually done the hard work should get important positions. And that is the struggle that is going on. And from our perspective, the most challenging part is the Haqqani group, which is responsible for started the attack on the Indian embassy in Kabul in 2008, seems to be walking away with a sizable chunk of important portfolios.
Ambassador Prakash, you very rightly pointed out that, the Doha group is actually much more sophisticated and has the finesse because it has been conducting diplomatic negotiations with international interlocutors, especially the US, for the last at least 3-4 years. The office was opened in 2013, but the serious negotiations started only since 2017-18. But on the other hand, the battle-hardened fighters and leaders from Kandahar in the Haqqani network are very influential on the ground. So that, you rightly pointed out, would be India's main worry. Now, when we talk about the Haqqani network, if you could briefly tell us about the Haqqani network, how it came into being to be this a very, very ruthless terrorist group and has attacked Indian interests and Indian embassy in 2008, if I remember correctly, Ambassador Prakash?
Very much so. There is just one word for that, one acronym called the ISI. The Haqqani network has been nurtured like other Taliban factions, but their special effort has been lavished on the Haqqani network, and they have worked very closely with the Pakistani ISI, and they are among the hardcore of the Taliban, so much so that even the breakaway group, if I could call it the breakaway group, the Islamic State KP, is also outfit with which Haqqani group works very closely. And they have generally been known for their ruthlessness, for their cruelty, and Indian interests have been one of the big targets of the Haqqani group. Now they say that they have changed, but while one can still think that there is a possibility of some of the other groupings like the group headed by Mullah Baradar, who has got exposure and may have mellowed a bit. I do not see the Haqqani group changing at all. And for them, the jihad that they have waged should give them the leverage that they seek, and that is the worrisome feature for us.
Ambassador Prakash, you rightly pointed out Haqqani network is the concern, and that was flagged by the Indian ambassador Deepak Mittal when he met Stanizai in Doha earlier this week, which was the first official contact which was made public between Indian diplomats and the Taliban group. In this kind of conversation engagement, when one is doing with the Taliban grouping, how do you as a diplomat approach such a conversation with whom your country hasn't had an easy relationship in the past? And bitter memories of IC-814 Kandahar hijack and all those incidents. How does an Indian diplomat approach such a meeting and such a conversation?
If I were to draw a parallel, no parallel is perfect, but in the same way as we approach a conversation with Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has also from day one been waging war against India, has been a source of fountainhead of terrorism, but haven't we time and again spoken to Pakistan? So similarly, when it comes to the Taliban, I think that The challenge today is that we need to have some kind of a channel of communication with the Taliban, not because any love is lost between us, not because we recognize them, not because we endorse their misdemeanors or their cruelty, but it's a recognition that they are in effective power and they are likely to stay for at least some time. Now, we have two choices, either to say that, look, we will not talk to you, you continue with your bad old ways, and let Pakistan do what they want to do, let Pakistan have a free run, let Pakistan encourage them, poison their ears, or at least have a channel of communication where we share our perspective and learn theirs. And that is what we are trying to do. Now, as you said, there is the first known or acknowledged official contact with the Taliban, which happened on the 31st. But there have been enough reports to say that channels were at work. And for all you know, even maybe our officials had met with them, but it was never acknowledged. But I would think that meticulous preparatory work would have gone in organizing the meeting between Stanigzai and our ambassador. It could not have happened in a hurry and could not have had the blessings of Pakistan.
Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, you talked about the issue of recognition to Taliban, and obviously this is just the first meeting which took place between the Indian ambassador in Doha and Mr. Stanigzai, a prominent Taliban leader now. What are the issues that India should keep in mind before it grants recognition to Taliban, and how far are we from that situation?
You and I both agree that what happened on the 31st of August was the first known meeting. For all we know, other meetings would have been held. Secondly, when it comes to the Taliban, what is very clear is the fact that Afghanistan will not be a democratic country. Afghanistan, especially women, will not have right of equality. It will not happen. Today, the challenge is to make the best out of a bad situation. So what is it? Hitherto, Taliban has evoked or interpreted Sharia in a very cruel and brutal fashion. That is not the essence of Sharia. There is Sharia in Saudi Arabia also. But as in comparison, Saudi Arabia would seem to be a land of virtue. Now, what India would, in the minimum, expect is that at least a modicum of rights and respect should be given to women. The Western concept of equality will not work in the case of Taliban. If somebody were to expect the Taliban allow co-education, that will not happen. There will be restrictions on women, but so long as they are allowed to at least study and work with limitations, I think the world will have to live with that. Again, the issue of how you are meting out punishment. Are you kind of chopping off limbs? Are you killing people? What kind of an administration you are providing? So recognition is a far cry, but for us to even say that, look, we are engaging with Taliban regularly, they have to behave in a civilized fashion. And that is what President Putin has also said. Now, the timeline is impossible. It could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months. It may happen, it may not happen, because it will all depend on two factors. One, whether there is a strong leadership or a leader within the Taliban who can rein in the cadres. And secondly, what kind of a role of a spoiler that Pakistan would play.
Thank you so much for that insightful conversation, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash.
In Afghanistan, colorful murals painted by Afghan artists are slowly disappearing from the streets of Kabul as the Taliban return to rule Afghanistan. Curator and artist Omaid H. Sharifi noted in a social media post that among the murals painted in recent days was a piece depicting the historic Doha deal that showed U.S. Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad and Taliban co-founder Mullah Baradar. A BBC report said most of the murals are now being painted over with white paint, with slogans praising Taliban fighters for the withdrawal of US troops after 20 years. This is All India Radio, giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has topped a global approval ratings, leaving behind all contemporary heads of state and heads of government. According to a survey conducted among all adults, Mr. Modi received a stellar approval rating of 70%, while Mexico President Andrés Manuel López Obrador was second with 64% and Italy Prime Minister Mario Draghi was number 3 with 63%. German Chancellor Angela Merkel ranks 4th with 52% and US President Joe Biden is at number 5 with 48%. The Morning Consult, an American data intelligence firm, tracks the approval rating for government leaders in Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, Mexico, South Korea, Spain, the United Kingdom and the United States. As per the intelligence firm, its ratings are based on a 7-day moving average of adult residents in each country. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla met U.S. Principal Deputy NSA John Feiner and U.S. Under-Secretary of Defense for Policy Colin Kahl. They discussed steps to further strengthen Indian-U.S. strategic and defense partnership. In a series of tweets, External Affairs Ministry's spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said Mr. Shringla had a very useful exchange with John Feiner on further consolidating India-U.S. strategic partnership. They reviewed regional developments, including the situation in Afghanistan and Indo-Pacific region. Mr. Shringla interacted with strategic experts from prominent U.S. think tanks on regional and global issues. Different facets of India-U.S. strategic partnership were discussed during the meeting.
They also exchanged views on regional issues like Afghanistan and Indo-Pacific and agreed to coordinate on shared priorities ahead of the India-United States Ministerial 2+2 dialogue. Foreign Secretary also interacted with leading U.S. companies under the aegis of U.S.-India Business Council USIBC on India's economic recovery and steps taken by the government to facilitate ease of doing business. Mr. Shringla appreciated proactive efforts of USIBC and Global Task Force for supporting India's COVID response and advancing the India-US business partnership. Bangladesh Army Chief General S.M. Shafiuddin Ahmad left Dhaka for a 3-day official visit to India today by a special Bangladesh Air Force aircraft. He is leading 8-member delegation during the visit. The Bangladesh Army Chief will hold meetings with the National Security Advisor of India, Chief of Defence Staff, Chief of Army, Navy and Air Staff, Defence Secretary and other senior military officials of India during the visit, said a press release issued by the Bangladesh Inter-Services Public Relations ISPR. The Bangladesh Army Chief will discuss issues of bilateral importance to strengthen the cooperation between the armed forces of the two countries. He will also visit some of the defense establishments and National Defense College. General S.M. Shafiuddin will also pay a courtesy visit to the High Commission of Bangladesh in India at Delhi. The visit will conclude on 8th September when he will return back to Dhaka.
At the Tokyo Paralympics today, Indian shuttler Pramod Bhagat has won the gold medal in the men's singles SL3 category, while in the same event, Manoj Sarkar has won a bronze medal for India. Earlier in the day, Manish Narwal finished on top of the podium in mixed 50 meter pistol SH1 final, and Singraj followed him at the second place for a silver medal. With this, India has won total 17 medals so far, which include 4 gold, 7 silver and 6 bronze. Indian President Ram Nath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sports Minister Anurag Thakur have congratulated Pramod Bhagat, the badminton star of India, ranked number 1 in the world on winning gold medal at Paralympics. In a tweet, Mr. Kovind said, "This is especially joyous for Indians as the national anthem was played at the podium." In a tweet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, "Pramod Bhagat has won the hearts of the entire nation." The President, Vice President and Prime Minister also congratulated Manoj Sarkar on winning bronze medal. Mr. Modi expressed joy at that Indian athletes are excelling in different sports and that the spirit of confidence among the players is remarkable. Congratulating medal winners, Sports Minister Anurag Thakur said, "It is raining medals for India at Tokyo Paralympics."
In cricket, India were 270 for 3 in the second innings on Day 3 against England in the 4th Test at the Oval when stumps were drawn early as play was stopped due to bad light. India lead by 171 runs. Skipper Virat Kohli on 22 and Ravindra Jadeja on 9 were at the crease. Rohit Sharma scored impressive 127 runs, while Cheteshwar Pujara made 61 and KL Rahul 46. For India, Umesh Yadav took 3 wickets while Jasprit Bumrah and Ravindra Jadeja scabbed 2 wickets each. India were all out for 191 in their first innings on day 1 itself. The 3-day-long 28th edition of Singapore-India Maritime Bilateral Exercise SIMBIX concluded today. The Indian Navy was represented by guided missile destroyer INS Ranavijay with a ship-borne helicopter ASW corvette INS Kiltan and guided missile corvette INS Kora and one P-8I long-range maritime patrol aircraft. Participants from the Republic of Singapore Navy included one formidable class frigate RSS Steadfast embarked with an S-70B naval helicopter, one Victory-class missile corvette RSS Vigor, one Archer-class submarine and one Fokker 50 maritime patrol aircraft. 4 F-16 fighter aircraft of the Republic of Singapore Air Force also participated in the exercise during the air defense drills.
Indian Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh has said that India has the potential to become global hub of green hydrogen in near future. Speaking at the International Climate Summit 2021 in New Delhi, Dr. Singh said Prime Minister Narendra Modi has accorded highest priority to clean and green energy. He said with the rapid introduction of biofuels, renewable energy and green hydrogen, India is well poised to take a leadership role towards carbon neutrality. The minister said government is already encouraging adaptation of hydrogen fuels and technology for the mobility sector, and many industries like steel, cement and glass manufacturing industries have started using hydrogen for heating requirements. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian writes Joe Biden tells FBI to release files on 9/11 investigation and possible Saudi links. The Washington Post reports Hamid Karzai is back in the thick of Afghan politics but a long way from power. Sputnik News writes Pakistan's spy chief visits Kabul amid claims of factionalism in Taliban over formation of new government. The Globe and Mail says Ukrainian troops rescue Canada-bound Afghans in daring operation. Financial Times says inflation could spark new global financial crisis, says Russia's central bank. Wall Street Journal reports China's SMIC to build $8.87 billion chip production line in Shanghai. South China Morning Post says ASEAN's Myanmar envoy in talks with junta seeks access to Aung San Suu Kyi. Japan's ruling party leaders have geared up to become the successor of Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga after his abrupt decision to pull out of his party's presidential election at the end of September, a media report said today. Yesterday, Suga said that he won't run in the upcoming Liberal Democratic Party's LDP next election, saying that he wants to focus on curbing the coronavirus spread, reported Japan's NHK World.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi tops a global approval ratings, leaving behind all contemporary heads of state and heads of government. Indian Home Minister Amit Shah says government has taken several steps to ensure internal security of the country. Air bubble service between India and Bangladesh to resume after a gap of more than 4 months due to COVID-19 pandemic. National Resistance Force leader in Afghanistan, Ahmad Masood, says his fighters won't give up their struggle against Taliban. In Tokyo Paralympics, Indian shuttler Pramod Bhagat wins gold, while Manoj Sarkar wins bronze in men's singles SL3 category. Manish Narwal wins gold and Singraj Adana takes silver in mixed 50-meter pistol event. And in US Open tennis, defending champion Naomi Osaka and third-seeded Stefanos Tsitsipas ousted in third round. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Sweden. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.